Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. AI, it's everywhere these days. But today, we're going beyond the hype to really explore how this tech is changing things. Not just, industries, but even how we think about work itself. We'll even touch on how it might change how long we live.
Sounds pretty intense.
It is. We're diving deep into some seriously thought-provoking material.
All right, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Well, first up, AI tools, specifically DeepSeek V3. Then we'll look at how AI affects different jobs, like why your plumber might actually be more secure than a data analyst.
Huh.
Yeah, it's wild. We'll also unpack this idea of recursive AI innovation loops, how AI could actually design better AI and speed up its own progress.
So things could get really crazy really fast.
Exactly. And we'll look at AI in healthcare, especially this concept of longevity escape velocity, plus the possibility of AI making products basically free because it's doing all the work.
Free. All right, now you've got my attention.
It's a lot, but it's important. So the source material kind of frames it as intelligence becoming too cheap to meter.
Whoa, that's a big statement. What does that even mean for us in practical terms?
Well, think about it. Tools like DeepSeek V3 are already transforming business efficiency, analyzing tons of data, optimizing processes, things that used to take huge teams.
Yeah, I've heard about those tools. They're changing the game for sure, making things way more efficient.
Way more. And the source even suggests some companies are already seeing crazy profit margins because of this.
That's the thing, right? It goes beyond just saving money. Companies using AI are reaching levels of effectiveness we've never seen before.
Right. It's a total paradigm shift.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I find really interesting, how differently this affects different jobs. Like cognitive jobs, those that require lots of thinking, they seem most vulnerable to automation.
I can see that. AI is amazing at processing information, finding patterns, things humans can take ages to do.
Exactly. So think about data analysts, financial modelers, even lawyers doing research. Those are all areas already seeing a lot of AI integration.
Makes sense. But what about jobs that need physical skills, like a plumber?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting.
How so?
The source suggests these physical jobs, especially those needing on-the-spot problem solving, in unpredictable situations, those might actually become more valuable.
So you're telling me plumbers could have a brighter future than data analysts in this AI world?
It's less about specific jobs being safe and more about the entire landscape of work, changing in ways we can't fully grasp yet. Some jobs will disappear, others will morph into something totally new.
That's kind of unsettling, but also exciting.
Totally. And this is where we get to those recursive AI innovation loops, basically.
Yeah.
AI getting so good, it can design even better AI.
So change wouldn't just be fast, be accelerating constantly.
That's the idea. The source suggests that as early as next year, we could see businesses operating with levels of efficiency and innovation that are almost unimaginable today.
Wow. Not just jobs, but entire industries could be disrupted.
Right. And one of those is healthcare. We're already seeing AI helping diagnose diseases, create new treatments, even predict health risks years in advance.
I've seen some of that. It's mind-blowing, like having a super-powered doctor who knows everything.
And it gets crazier. The source mentions this idea of longevity escape velocity.
Escape velocity, what's that?
Essentially, AI-powered medical tech getting so good, so fast, that we could drastically extend lifespans, maybe even indefinitely.
So living forever. That sounds more like sci-fi than reality.
I know, right? But the fact we're even having this conversation shows how far AI has come and how fast it's still moving.
Okay, but if things are changing this fast, how can we even keep up?
That's the big question. And this brings up a crucial point. The source highlights the widening gap between how fast technology is developing and how well society can adapt.
Like we're building a rocket before figuring out the launch pad.
Exactly. And this is where things get serious. We're talking about real risks here. AI could progress so quickly that we're not prepared to handle the consequences.
That's a pretty sobering thought. We need to be having these conversations, thinking about what this all means.
Absolutely. This is just scratching the surface of something that's going to get more and more important.
Yeah, it's not something we can just ignore and hope it sorts itself out.
Yep.
Before we get too deep into all that societal stuff, let's go back to AI in healthcare for a minute. The source really hammers home that it's not just about us living longer, it's changing how we find new treatments too.
Yeah, that whole decades of research compressed into years thing is wild. How's that actually happening?
Imagine AI as this ultimate research assistant, right? It can analyze mountains of data spot patterns test theories way faster than we ever could. Like whole studies can be done in the blink of an eye.
So instead of waiting forever for breakthroughs, we could see cures and solutions popping up left and right.
Exactly. The source even talks about curing diseases that have been around for centuries and tackling global health crises way more effectively. It's pretty exciting stuff.
It's like AI is hitting fast forward on scientific progress. But here's something that seems kind of contradictory at first. The source claims AI automation could actually make things practically free. How does that even work?
It comes down to the cost of labor shrinking. As AI takes over more and more tasks, think manufacturing deliveries, even customer service, you need fewer and fewer people. That makes production costs plummet.
So you're saying we could get to a point where making almost anything costs next to nothing.
The source uses the phrase practically free to scale, which has huge implications. Just imagine a world where pretty much everyone can afford any product or service.
It's a wild idea, but what are the companies that don't adapt? What happens to the ones stuck in the old ways?
The source is pretty blunt. They're not just falling behind, they're being replaced completely. It's a stark reminder that the pace of change is only accelerating.
Sounds like a survival of the fittest situation with AI calling the shots. But that brings us back to the whole societal readiness issue. How do we get ready for a world where AI is shaking up industries, collapsing labor costs, and maybe even making us live forever?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The source keeps highlighting this growing gap between how fast the tech is moving and how much society can keep up. Our institutions, our policies, even our mindsets are struggling to adapt.
It's like we're trying to sail a speedboat in a hurricane.
Kinda, yeah. And that's the challenge. We need to start thinking hard about what AI means, not just for business and the economy, but for society as a whole. How do we make sure everyone benefits from these advancements? What about jobs and economic inequality? How do we prepare future generations for a world where work might be totally different?
These aren't just questions for the experts. This is something we all need to grapple with.
Absolutely. The future of AI is tied to the future of humanity. And that's why these conversations are so important.
And we're back for our final look at the AI revolution. One thing that really struck me about this source material is how it ties these huge tech changes to really human concerns, especially about what happens to work.
Yeah, the source doesn't sugarcoat it. There's definitely some anxiety around all this, especially with tools like DeepSeek V3 changing the game so fast. A lot of people are worried about what it means for their jobs, even whole industries.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Robots taking our jobs has always been a sci-fi trope, but now it feels real. But the source goes deeper than that. It's not just about learning new skills. It's about how quickly society can actually change to keep up.
You got it.
Yeah.
Our policies, education systems, even how we think about work itself, it's all lagging behind AI. And that gap isn't just a risk for individuals losing jobs, but for how our entire economy functions.
It's a pretty stark contrast the source paints. Companies embracing AI are making gains we've never seen before. But those holding back, well, they're not just falling behind, they're straight up getting replaced. It's a wake-up call for sure.
What's hitting you the hardest about all this?
Honestly, it's the urgency. We're at this point where AI is already changing the world, and it's up to us whether we just ride the wave or try to steer it.
I hear that. The source makes it clear that the outcome isn't set in stone. AI is a tool, so how we use it, that's the key. The choices we make now will shape everything.
So where do we even start? How do we bridge this gap between how fast tech is moving and where society is at?
That's the question, isn't it? The source doesn't offer easy answers, but it gives us a way to think about the challenge. Investing in education so people have the skills for this new world, policies that support workers during the transition, making sure AI benefits everyone, not just a few at the top. And maybe most importantly, building a culture where learning and adapting is just what we do.
So it's on all of us, not just governments or big companies. We've got to be active in shaping this AI future, not just sit back and watch it happen.
It starts with being aware, having these conversations, questioning what we think we know, really exploring what AI could mean, both good and bad.
That's a perfect place to wrap things up. We've covered a lot, from how AI is changing business, to the mind-blowing potential in healthcare, and even extending our lives.
But the biggest takeaway is this. AI isn't something way off in the future. It's here, it's now, and it's changing the world in big ways already.
That's something to really think about. As you go about your day, consider how AI might affect you, your work, your community. What role will you play in this future? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.